Okay, In Defense of Ska will begin in just a moment. But first, I just want to say thank you for listening to the podcast. It means so much to us. And if you enjoy the podcast, tell your friends about it. The best way to do that is to, follow us on Instagram and Twitter and share our posts and let people know when they say, hey, is there a podcast I should be listening to? Say yes, In Defense of Ska. Go on to wherever you get podcasts from and subscribe to the podcast. Leave a 5-star review. Let people know that you support In Defense of Ska, that you defend ska. Thanks.
In the early 2000s, several ska bands formed in Austria, though many of them did not last. But one, Russkaja, remains, and they've become a household name on the international ska stage. A decade into their career, they signed to Napalm Records, and in their home country, they're best known as the house band for the late-night comedy show Willkommen Österreich. In 2022, they made their first ever trek to the US as the opening act for Flogging Molly. So today we speak to guitarist Engel Mayr. Now sit back and expand your knowledge of international ska just a little bit.
I feel like one really cool thing that happened during the pandemic was the world got a little bit smaller, and so it was easier to find international bands.
Yeah.
And one of those bands, Russkaja.
My introduction to Russkaja actually was our old friend Mike Vianelli.
Oh.
The original Flat Planet guitarist. He started texting me a while back. He's like, dude, check out this band. And his music tastes are so like all over the map. Like, and he doesn't even like a lot of ska, but he just like worshiped this band.
Did he go see him when they came out here with Flogging Molly?
No, I don't think he could, but yeah. So he was just like he campaigning hard from them, and I checked him out and I was super into them.
Nice.
I got another funny Russkaja story for you.
Sure.
I was in Mexico over Christmas and New Year's, and I kept my eye out for ska shirts. And I saw several ska shirts for Mexican bands, but the one non-Mexican band I saw t-shirt was Russkaja.
Nice.
So now we know Russkaja, huge in Mexico.
Did you see an Omnigon shirt when you were out there?
I did, and I was the one wearing it.
Got to represent for your friends.
I wanted to start by talking about a song that you did in 2013, Energia.
Yeah.
Great song, a great video. Tell me a little bit about the video. It's got this really cool animation sort of style to it. First, I'm curious who did this, and then some of the vision about this style in this video.
Well, the video was done by Juppie Jupsen.
Mm-hmm.
It's a guy who's now living in the UK, and actually he did everything on his own. He heard the track, he liked it, and he said, well, the only thing you guys have to do is film yourself with a few special angles, like in the very intro you see us sitting on that desk.
Yeah.
So we filmed this one ourselves, and then those close-ups that are coming in the chorus where we can see the faces of the band members. That's stuff that he requested, and everything else, all the animation, he really hit it right off, because all the Russian cliche stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, we saw it for the first time and we knew it's just totally right.
Last I checked, this song has like 18 million views on YouTube.
Yeah, it got kind of big over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not a band that explodes with some kind of song or like some hit song or something like that. So it was just growing over the years, and it became our biggest song, actually.
It's definitely, aside from the fact that I like the video and I like showing people the video, I think the song is not only a good song, but I think it sort of encapsulates, what Russkaja is about.
Yeah.
It has all the elements. Like I like, especially the chorus. The chorus has this very heavy part, and then it switches suddenly to this very like kind of Eastern European influenced ska part, and goes back and forth between these. And I kind of feel like That's what I want to like. If someone's never heard you guys before, and I want to give them just a couple minutes to familiarize themselves with you. I want them to hear that chorus, and I feel like that'll kind of give them a sense of what they're in for.
Well, it's very catchy, and I think just the word and the title of the song is like one of the most important terms what the band is all about, because a lot of our our presentation is about energy, you know. So so that's another thing I think that makes this song so special.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the fact that you guys have a saxophone, a violin, and then you have an instrument. What do you call the instrument?
It's called potete.
And this is like kind of like a trumpet, but
like it's a mixed word, you know, from trumpet is called Trompete in German language. And then we have the trombone, which is called Posaune. So you take the beginning of Posaune and the end of Trompete. So you get potete.
Sounds like potato. I love it.
Yeah. And it's built like a mixture of those two instruments. So that's where the name came about.
This was something invented by you guys or the member that plays it?
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit how the process of creating their own horn?
Well, he studied the. I hope it's the right word in English. A tuba.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, like the big horn. So he studied that instrument. This is his main instrument actually, and he's playing it in Russkaja as well. But for playing those like high speed Balkan melodies, he kind of switched to a trombone, but he wanted it to be a little bit more comfortable for him. So he created that kind of instrument, and he went to a horn maker, and he told him about his creation, and that guy built it. It's just this. There's just that one instrument.
One of a kind. No other ones like it.
Yeah, it's very similar actually to a bass trumpet.
Yeah.
You know those trumpets that are a little bit bigger.
I'm looking at a picture of it right now. The most noticeable difference is that there's a completely circular piece of tubing near the front of the horn, and then the bell of the horn almost looks like it's angled back a little bit. It's a really dramatic looking trumpet.
Yeah, and it has the, I don't know how it's called, the thing you can pull out that from the trombones.
Oh yeah, the slide.
Yeah, the slide. Yeah, it has that. So this is more trombone stuff, and everything else is a lot like a bigger trumpet, and so it's just like a bastard.
Yeah,
a horn bastard.
The way your horns sound and the violin sound, I think it really brings out the fact that there's a lot of Eastern European influences as well, not just ska influences.
Yeah.
Did you guys craft this section to get this sound, or was it sort of like these are the people you knew that wanted to be in the band?
Well, it wasn't really on purpose. We just knew we wanted to have like 3 instruments that are not rock band instruments.
Yeah.
And of course we wanted to have the violin, because it's like it can get so dramatic in the sound. So the violin is really important. But to be honest, until like last year I think we had a trumpet instead of the saxophone for 10 years, and now we have a saxophone player again. So yeah, it was a little bit different, but the main part is just 3 of those and the rock band. Then you can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's really interesting hearing the violin lock in with the horns.
Yeah.
And then go off and do its own thing and then come back in. It gives it a completely different feel while still feeling familiar.
Yeah.
So in 2022, you guys came to the U.S. for the first time ever?
Yeah.
Wow. Had you tried to come to the States before this and it never worked out, or were you just waiting for a good opportunity? Because in this time you came with Flogging Molly.
Yeah. Basically, it was always some kind of a dream to go to the US, because none of our past booking agencies, they had contacts or anything, and I'm pretty sure you know that you can't just call some US clubs and say, "Hey, we're Russkaja, we want to come over and play." So we didn't have any contacts, or just like a starting point or something like that. And then just we got to know the guys from Flogging Molly. They invited us actually, and this was like a really great opportunity for us to come over and play the shows to 1,000 or 2,000 people every night, instead of coming over for the first time and hoping to get like 100 people or something.
Yeah, I almost came to your Oakland show. I live about an hour and a half or so from Oakland, and I felt just absolutely exhausted, and I'm just like, I couldn't convince my body to drive in my car and drive an hour and a half
Yeah.
but I really, really wanted to, because I've been a fan for a while, and I was so excited that you guys were here. And I heard nothing but good things from friends of mine that did go see you guys.
Yeah, cool.
What was it like for you guys? Because I assume that a majority of the audience were totally unfamiliar with you.
Yeah, and it was actually, I loved it. It was a really great experience for us. I did a tour in Canada with a different project 10 years ago, but it was not the US, so it was also my first time to the US. And the Flogging Molly audience is known to be very kind to the support bands, because those people, they know that Flogging Molly picks the support band themselves.
Mhm.
So it's not just random support acts that are chosen by agencies or something like that. They are handpicked actually. And that's why their fans are in the club very early to check out those bands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we love those guys. We owe them a lot. They took us over, and their fans, they loved us.
I saw, just as a side note, I saw a video of you guys playing a version of their song "Devil's Dance Floor."
Yeah, yeah.
Great version. Anyone should go check that out on YouTube.
That was fun. Like every night we we did 2 minutes of some famous song of the area we're playing in.
Oh, really?
When you grow up here, lots of music you listen to is American actually. All the blues, rock, pop stuff. So much stuff, so much music coming from the US. So there's always some song or some tune wherever you go. And we picked some and checked it at the sound check, and we played it. And people loved that.
Can you give us some examples of songs you played for a couple different cities?
Oh, of course, we did "Sweet Home Alabama" with some polka beat and some offbeat guitar, and we did "Living in Tulsa" time. We played Tulsa, stuff like that. Just we on the bus ride to the next show. We were all in the bus, and we were checking which song would we work in, and then we tried it at sound check, and then we played it in the night.
Nice. I was reading a review of your Kansas City show. Somebody wrote, and so one thing that they said, and we kind of talked about this already, is that that you quickly won over the audience. So audience are kind of coming in cold, but you guys hit them real quick with your stuff, and they're down for it.
Yeah.
The other thing was that they were talking about how Georgie, your lead singer Georgie, would embrace your bass player Dimitri. Is that his name?
Yeah, yeah.
And told the crowd, because Dimitri, so Georgie's Russian.
Yeah, he's Russian born.
Yes, and Dimitri is Ukrainian.
Yeah.
And so he said that, we're an example of that there's no war between the Ukrainian and Russian people, that this is one crazy motherfucker's war that he's, imposing on everyone else.
Yeah.
So the time that you guys came was kind of and it's still going as at the time we're recording this, but the Russia's war in Ukraine was happening. And so
Yeah.
as a band, you have, I know Georgie's Russian. Is there any other members that are Ukrainian besides Dmitry?
No. It's really mixed. So we all met in Austria, which is like in the heart of Europe. And Georgie came to Austria. I think he was 14 or 15 years old with his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And Dimitri, he came when he was, I'd say, 20 or 22 to study bass. So, and we have a German violin player, and the saxophone player is Italian. So we're kind of multicultural. But of course, like when the lead singer is born in Russia and the band name is Russkaja, so people will think you're a Russian band, actually.
Sure.
That's not easy when Russia is doing some bullshit war.
Sure, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So what was this moment like? I mean, I saw posts that were made probably before the tour or maybe during the tour, basically taking a stand against the war, and also the similar message, a message of unity between the Russian and Ukrainian people.
yeah, we were talking about this. I think the war started like one week before we flew to the US. We were talking about how can we let people know that we're absolutely against any kind of war,
Mm-hmm.
because people at first people hate Russians now, and the second thing is some of them think, oh, it's a Russian band, they must be pro war or something insane. So
Sure.
so we were talking about telling people every night as early as possible. So after the first song, telling all the people that we're absolutely against any kind of war that's going on. I mean, we had an album that was called Peace, Love, and Russian Roll. And we had several, like, let's call them peace songs. But
Yeah.
of course, people that don't know you, people that just read your band's name, how can they know?
I think it's complicated too, like we talked about Energia having sort of the Russian cliche imagery.
Yeah,
It's part of it's part of Georgie's culture, part of his history, but that all of that gets launched into this like big national conversation of what's happening.
and also we have those lyrical jokes in our lyrics. It's German sayings, and they used to be funny, but it, in that exact moment when Russia started that war, all those jokes are gone. Like there's a German saying, it's die Russen sind da, like the Russians are here. And I think most of those funny sayings, they come from the World War II,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and those are all jokes, and they were really funny. But now you can't sing them. And Georgie said, "Well, I can't go on stage and sing that stuff anymore." So we also in Energia, that's how we call the song, Energia.
Okay.
It starts like it's the I think it's the second sentence. Die Russen sind da nach einem Tagesmarsch. It's German for the Russians are arriving after like a one day of like a soldier's march, like a 1 day march. It's just a saying, yeah, that used to be funny, but now we don't want to sing it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's it's a little bit complicated for a band like us. Also, the song I wrote the song Russki Style in 2019, and it was released as the first single of the new album in, let me think, September 21. And like Russki Style is just another funny saying. Like if you do something in a stupid way here, then you say, "Oh yeah, that's he made it Russki style." Like if you turn around with your car and it's really stupid, and you have to like do like 10 times back and forth. Oh, he's doing it Russian, and that's what we call it Russki style. So it should be funny, yeah. But now Russki style is like just invading another country.
Oh, God.
So that song is suddenly became difficult.
Yeah. So the new album's called Turbo Polka Party.
Yeah.
The first song on the new album is called No Borders.
Yeah.
That song feels like it relates to what we're talking about. Can you tell us a little bit about the song and what inspired it?
Yeah. That song I wrote in April. So it's one of the freshest songs on the album. And as you can imagine, the war was already going on for like 2 months. And it was when we came back from the US, I think like 3 weeks after we were on tour in Germany, and I was on the bus and then backstage in a German city called Dresden, and I had just the words in my head, and I sat down in the backstage, and I really wanted to write a song like that, because also like I told you, we were talking about letting people know that just because we have a singer who's born in Moscow, we're not like war people or something. So I wanted to write a song that has that message in it. So yeah, I sat backstage and I put the words together and the chords. Yeah, and when I show it, I start writing songs mostly like on some plane or on the bus, train or something like that, and I put the ideas into my phone. And then when I'm home, I sit down and I make demos where I program drums and bass guitar. I will play, and all the melodies I will do in the computer. And then I sing those songs myself, and then I show them to Georgie, because being the lead singer, of course, he will have to sing what I wrote, kinda. So if he's not cool with it, then we will change some stuff, or we just trash the song or something like that. And when I showed him the song No Borders, he had tears in his eyes, and he said, "Well, Engel, thank you for writing this song," because he's the lead singer, and every night that's what he wants to tell people the most. And now he has a song that has that message in it. And that's why I put the song on the album as the first track, because I think that that's a very important message now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the perfect lead off. And I mean, I could see starting a set with that song too.
Okay, so let's do a little history. Russkaja formed in 2005 in Austria.
Yeah.
Now, you already mentioned Georgie was born in Moscow, moved to Austria in like 1989. You mentioned there was other members that are Ukrainian, Italian. You're from Austria yourself?
Yeah, I'm a born Austrian.
Is this normal for bands in Austria to be multinational, multicultural like you guys are?
Actually, not. It's just the way it came about. So Georgie had the idea. It was a time when the ska music and the mixture of Balkan and ska had like a small hype here in Austria.
Mm.
I remember the time, and in those 5 to 6 years, there were lots of bands coming out and playing ska music with different flavors added. And Georgie had the idea of taking that ska stuff with his history of Russian folk. And just occasionally he met Dimitri and he said, you know what I'm talking about, because we have kind of the same history and we know the same Russian folk songs. And he asked him, are you interested? And Dimitri said, yes. So that was the beginning of the band.
What were some of the bands in Austria that were playing ska?
Well, nothing got bigger. We had a band called PBH Club.
Okay.
They were playing like national shows, but they never came out of the country. They never made it like in Germany or something. It was a hype that was really unique to the city here. It's Vienna. So yeah, and then people said, the hype will be over in like 5 years or something, and then Russkaja will be dead as well. but somehow we managed to survive.
Proved them wrong. At that time, were there any outside ska bands coming through that you were listening to?
Well, just the usual suspects. So the ska stuff that I'm familiar with is Fishbone or that kind of stuff.
I mean, that's perfect. Can't go wrong with Fishbone.
Yeah, this is like really so many different styles in there, and I grew up with lots of different styles. So Fishbone was always my kind of thing, and also I think it was you, Aaron, who wrote us for the first time and sent us a link to your list of albums that we're in. And you also got the One Rancid album in there, Life Won't Wait.
Yeah.
That's a great one too, because of course it's a punk rock album, but on the other hand, it's not. It's so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And those ska influences, I always loved them. So, yeah.
What Engel's talking about is that Brooklyn Vegan did an article on the 64, I think it was 64 essential ska records. I was one contributor of like a handful of people, and I specifically asked that Russkaja be included because I'm a big fan. And anyways, I was very happy that they accepted your guys' inclusion in this list of bands, because I think you deserve to be heard by more people around the world as an important essential band in the ska universe.
Yeah, well, thank you for proposing.
Sure.
Also, I grew up with lots of different music, and punk rock was also a big part, besides like blues and rock and also metal and also jazz. And I also listened to NoFX, and NoFX is just it's just a punk band, but it's not actually. They have songs that are ska songs or kind of reggae songs. I always like the mixture of the stuff.
There's a lot of like metal influences in Russkaja. Can you tell us a little bit about the metal bands that you guys are into?
Well, Georgie and me, we have a common history of the, maybe it's not old school metal, but because now so much time has passed, but let's call it the classic bands from Metallica to Maiden, and then like early 90s bands like Machine Head, stuff like that. And I had a time when I was a lot into New York hardcore bands like Biohazard and Propane and Sick of It All. And when I got to know Georgie, we discovered that he also loved Biohazard back in the 90s. So there's lots of common flavors for us. I also listened to really death metal stuff, and so also Cannibal Corpse. And later, like Nile. I don't know if you guys know about that really technical death metal, blah blah blah. So I listen to lots of stuff. And, well, nowadays I still there's just time for everything, and I go back and forth, and I'm rediscovering classics every few weeks, and put the record on, and I'm happy again. So yeah.
Back in the early days, like in the 90s or early 2000s, what were some of the ska bands that came through, like some ska shows you got to see?
Well, actually, in the early 2000s, I only listened to jazz music.
Oh yeah.
So I only went to shows um, of jazz bands and projects. So actually, I didn't listen to a lot of ska.
No ska for you at that time. Yep.
No ska. I didn't even listen to rock stuff or anything. I was a total jazz nerd for a few years. So
Did you ever get to see Fishbone come through?
no.
Never seen Fishbone. Oh,
No, never. They're not in Europe very often.
well, guys, yeah. Hopefully they come back. I mean, they're still touring, so.
Yeah. I follow them, and I'm happy they're still playing.
When Russkaja is forming, can you tell us a little bit about the scene? Like, what other bands you guys are playing with? What places you're playing? Kind of how healthy the scene is, if you will.
Well, at the time the band started, it was the Balkan ska hype that I told you about.
Yeah.
And there was one special club in Vienna. It was called the Ost Club, which means like East Club, and in the name there's already the Balkan, the Eastern Europe reference in there. So they asked Russkaja to play their a weekly show there, and people were totally into it. So the club, it fits like 100 people, I think, or 150, and it was packed every week, and it gave us a big boost. And then after that, we just came around and were booked for festivals and stuff like that. From there, it just grew. It's the same with the music. We're not a band that gets high chart positions or something. And with the live shows, it's just like that. It's just words going around, and we got bigger like a little bit every year. So
your first record comes out in 2008.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Kazachok Superstar. I think it was 2008. Yeah.
And that was like, was that just a small local indie record label that put it out?
Well, actually not, because in that time of that Balkan hype, there was the one label that put out lots of stuff in that style. So it was actually in Austria. That record was our highest charting one, but only in Austria. So that record label didn't even release the record outside of Austria.
Wow.
So it was kind of a local hype just here, like in Vienna, the city, and Austria, the country. But that hype, that Balkan ska stuff, it wasn't there in Germany or Italy or anywhere else. So yeah, that's why people said, this will be over very soon. But somehow we managed to get over to Germany and to play our first shows there. And I think it's actually we're much more as a band than just the Balkan ska thing, and that's what made us survive that hype, because all the other bands, they just died, and also the club, the Ost Club, it just died a few years later. So all that Eastern ska stuff is gone.
When did you start getting out of Austria? Was it 2008 or was it before then? After then?
It was a little later. I think it was 2009, 2010, playing the first festivals. And then I think with the second album, the Russian Voodoo, the tour in 2011, if I remember correctly, was the first, let's call it a headline club tour in Germany.
Ah.
And there were shows in front of like 10 people. So
yeah, that's how you start.
that's yeah. You gotta go through that as well. So, and there's for 5 years now here in Austria, there's a a hype for pop and rock music with Austrian or German lyrics, and those bands, they exploded. So they had like one or two hits that are played here all the time in all the radio stations. So they start off playing venues in really big sizes. And we never had the chance to do that. We had to grow over the years.
So in 2008, you also get the gig of being the house band for a TV show in Austria.
Yeah.
Willkommen Österreich.
Yeah, Willkommen Österreich.
Okay.
Which means welcome Austria.
Yeah. So explain the show. What is the show exactly?
It's just a national comedy show with two, how's it called?
Comedians.
Two comedians, and they will open the show with some stand up stuff for like 20 minutes, and then there's two guests in the show, mostly from Germany or Austria, and they are doing interviews with those guests. And those interviews, they are always kind of unique because they're just let's call it a little rude, but with a good sense of humor. And people actually enjoy that a lot. So it's the show is kind of old right now, but still it's one of the best shows. Got the most views of all here in Austria, so it's still very successful.
How did that come about? You guys had only been a band for a few years. You were still building your reputation in the clubs.
Yeah.
How did you get this TV gig?
Playing a show at an Austrian festival here in Vienna, and one of those two guys, he saw us play, and then he came backstage and said, "I think this is what we need for the show."
Nice.
And we said, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, this is what you need for the show.
And so I watched a little bit. Like you guys open the show, with music.
Yeah, we play a little jingle, then they do the stand up part, and then when the guests come in, we play a little jingle, which is most of the time it's like a small part of one of our songs, and then at the end of the show we play like a short version of one of our songs, or if one of the guests is some kind of involved in music or a famous musician or something like that, or a singer, then we do a song together. So yeah, this is always very, very much fun.
What are some of the highlights of you playing with some famous musician guests?
Well, I was thinking you probably don't know any of those because
that's
they're
fine.
Just German stars. But there's Herbert Grönemeyer, which is a really big German singer, or maybe you guys know Nena.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, she had a hit in the 80s called 99 Luftballons.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure if you hear the song, you know it.
That song is massive here in the US.
And a bunch of ska bands have covered it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah. Like we played with her, and yeah. So there's I'm not even sure if that stylistic term exists in the US, but it's called Schlager. It's like a cheesy version of pop music with German lyrics that are really bad most of the time. But that kind of music is really big here, and most of the time people laugh at it. But there's one female singer. She's called Helene Fischer, and she exploded like the last 7 or 8 years. And she visited the show, I think it was 2 months ago or something, and we played with her, and it was a big YouTube hit, because that Schlager music, of course, we don't play it like it is on the record. We kind of make our own version in the TV show, and that's what people enjoy. It can it can transform into like a polka ska thing, or that heavy polka metal thing, or we just do a rock version or reggae version or something like that. And I think that's what people enjoy. You never know where we take it.
Yeah. So I assume the shows it help you gain some fans locally in Austria and maybe Germany, but not outside from that, really, right?
Yeah, not even in Germany, because the show is not broadcasted in Germany. It's just in Austria,
Oh,
and there's some parts in southern Germany. They can watch it, but in like you go to northern Germany, and people over there, they don't even know that we're doing this kind of thing. If they don't read it in some article, or checking the band in the internet, they don't know that we're a house band in a comedy show.
it seems like it'd be a fun gig. Like, do you basically have to work like you come in Monday through Friday to a set and sort of thing?
Actually, it's a lot less work. It's only on Mondays, so we meet every Monday at 2 p.m. kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do a sound check, and check the songs, or maybe the guest song, and then we do the show at 7 p.m. and we're finished by 9 p.m. And after that, I will do the sound mixing of the final song of the show. So most of the time, I go to my studio and mix that song, and that's it. So we have it's like Monday work for us.
That's great. You get
Yeah.
one day of work, 1 day a week work.
Yeah, yeah, which is cool, because being a musician here in Austria on Mondays, you don't have anything to do.
Yeah,
There's no jobs on Mondays.
but you guys got a TV show job.
Yeah, maybe if you're a musician in like a theater or something, then there's shows on Mondays. But like bands that are playing shows in clubs or halls, it's quiet on Mondays. So it's kind of cool to have that regular thing going on.
So I want let's jump to 2013. You guys are signed to Napalm Records,
Yeah,
and you released your third record, and Energia. So Napalm is like a metal. That's a metal label, right?
yeah, definitely.
And I think even some of their earlier stuff was like kind of like black metal, or like kind of more on the extreme end of the metal spectrum.
Yeah, they started off with really extreme, like Scandinavian black metal stuff.
So my introduction to you guys was I became familiar with you guys once you were at some point when you were on Napalm. So that was my first thing I noticed about you. I'm like, wow, that's very interesting that they're on this particular label. How did that come about?
Well, actually, it was the only label that came to us wanting to release our music outside of Austria,
Oh, I see.
and the deal was okay too. So we came from a label only releasing in Austria, and we knew it was time to get outside. And when Napalm came about, we checked their roster, and of course we knew the label before, but we checked the roster, and we could see that they are trying to expand their palette of musical styles. So now they had like I'm pretty sure you know Skindred,
Yeah.
Mhm.
the,
Yeah.
the band Skindred, and they've been on Napalm for 20 years now. I think with their new album right now they changed to another label, but for the past 20 years Skindred was on Napalm, and that's when I was thinking, okay, they're not a metal label strictly anymore, so maybe it could be the right one for us.
Yeah, you had one of the members of Skindred's is on your new record.
Yeah, and I'm really happy about that, because I'm a big fan of Benji Weber from Skindred, like from the the days before Skindred, when he had Dub War in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a fan of him when I was 14 years old. So this was really cool having him on the record.
I'm going to make an assumption, and you tell me if I'm right, or kind of fill in the blanks as needed. But you said that there was this Balkan ska scene, and it got big, and then it kind of died. So I'm looking at the timeline. 2013, you signed with Napalm, and you have this reach outside of Austria. Does that sort of happen around the same time as the Balkan ska hype dies, and you guys are sort of the only one left standing?
It happened a little later, so that the Vienna Balkan ska scene was already dead for, let's say, 3 years.
Okay.
Kind of, yeah. And that's when also some of the band members they left because they thought, well, there's no future for the band. The hype was fun, but now I think it won't last too long, and I do something else. And I think half of the band changed back then. Should be like 2011 or 2012. Around that time, I think it was lots of personnel changes.
I assume this gave the band new life, the release of this record.
Yeah, it was when we did the Energia tour in 2013. It was I think that was the first German club tour that kind of worked, where we could feel, okay, we can make it outside of Austria. There were still a few shows with I think it was like 40 people or something, but there were others, and they had 400 people. So we knew it's not where we want it to be, but I think we can get there.
Yeah, okay.
That was I think that was a really good time, because we felt we can do it. And 2 years before, we were thinking, well, nobody's interested in the stuff we're doing, so maybe we just quit. Around the 2013 time, we felt, okay, there's future, and I started to write more songs, and I was really motivated to write lots of stuff.
Were you going even beyond Germany? Like, were you touring all of Europe and beyond?
Yeah, it slowly came together. It was the Netherlands were one of the first countries besides Germany, and also Switzerland. And then another 2 years after, we went to Spain, and we have a few Spanish songs.
Mm-hmm.
And those people over there, we realized that they love it. So we try to go there as much as possible, which isn't always easy, because Spain is still some ride for us. The one thing that I realized when we toured the US is that distances are a little different for you guys.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you have
Oh yeah.
you have one really big country, but it's still all the same country. So, and for us, it's kind of different, because it's so many different countries in Europe, and Spain. You have to do let's say a 20-hour car ride to go to Spain from here.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd rather fly there, but flying with all the equipment, it's not also the coolest thing. So going to Spain is something you have to plan carefully.
In the United States, what did you think about having to drive across Texas?
That was one of the most beautiful things ever, because I have never seen a real desert in my life.
Sure.
That was the first time. We drove all through Texas to New Mexico, and then we went to Phoenix, Arizona. So that ride, I will remember the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It's great.
You mentioned that you had a few songs in Spanish. You guys sing in a variety of languages, don't you?
Yeah.
I know there's Russian. I know there's some English that comes out, Spanish. What else? What other languages come up in your songs?
There's German, and on the new record, I tried to do a little more German again because I think it was time for some more German. We also had an Italian song a few years ago, Italian, Spanish. Yeah. We have some, just some phrases here and there that can be also French or Hungarian, or even I think on the Cosmopoliturbo album, I think we had a few phrases in Japanese because Georgie he has a friend from Japan or something like that, and we just put in some the song's called Hello Japan, so we put in some Japanese words.
Have you guys played in Japan yet?
No, unfortunately not. But I hope it will happen sometime.
That would be a good one for y'all.
Yeah.
Is the multi-language thing, is that something unique to you guys, or is that something that other bands in Austria are doing?
Well, I think it's kind of unique. I don't know any bands that are doing it that much here. I think it's also only working because we're such a multicultural band.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It reflects the band members, and then also
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot speak Russian actually. Man, by now I have, let's say, 30 words or something in Russian, and I know how to pronounce most of them. But when I'm writing lyrics and I want that sound of the Russian language, I will write it in German or English, and then put it in Google Translate, and then I will sing it in the demo, like Google Translate puts it.
Yeah.
And then I will go to Georgie or Dimitri, and we correct it so that we turn it into proper Russian.
Right. Have there ever been any humorous translations that didn't quite work?
Yeah, there was some stuff, and like that's one of the sentences I hear very often. You cannot say this really like that, and then we just go from there, and I tell Georgie or Dimitri what I really wanted to say with that, and then we just modify it.
Nice.
So what languages do you actually speak yourself?
German, of course, which is my mother language. I mean, it's more Austrian than German because there's subtle differences. English. I had French in school. I had Italian in school. I think that's it. Latin, but that's not a language anymore, right?
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah.
You have a song called I don't know how to pronounce it. Ratos Moha.
Yeah, Radost Moja.
Rados Moja. I found this clip from 2014 where you guys played. I think it's called the Village Session in the Netherlands, and it was an acoustic rendition of the song.
Yeah, it was very spontaneous.
What was that exactly?
It was a Dutch festival where we played at night, just our usual show, and they asked us if we want to do like a small session of 2 or 3 songs in a little tent with acoustic instruments. We said, hell yeah, just let us know what time, and we'll be there. So it was really spontaneously. We never did this before, actually. So did I play an acoustic guitar there? I don't remember.
Yes, yeah, it was all acoustic, and I think the drummer was like kind of hitting stuff with his hands.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that guitar that I played there, it wasn't even mine. I'm pretty sure it was just lying there in the tent, and they said, "Yeah, you can use the guitar." I said, "Okay," because I think I didn't have an acoustic guitar with me on the tour, just electric and amps. So I said, "Yeah, we can do that, but you have to give me a guitar."
I assume you hadn't figured out how to, pre-planned how to make an acoustic version of these songs. You just kind of went for it.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the fun. That's the fun about it to me. So not too much talking, just take another instrument, like kind of another instrument, and try to go with it. And in the moment you start to play, you adapt to it, and it gets a unique groove. Then that's what I love about it. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about doing an acoustic record with Russkaja. So maybe let's say the next few years
Sure.
That'd be great.
I will try to do, because yeah, I think it would be a cool sound. Maybe even songs that we have on our already existing album. So songs that already exist, but then an acoustic version, something like that.
So your new record, Turbo Polka Party. When did you say the expected release date was?
I think it's February 3rd.
February 3rd. Okay. Turbo Polka Party. Immediately, my brain thinks of the Weird Al album called Polka Party. Is that was it a play off of that, or was it just something different?
Well, actually, I wanted to call it Polka Party. That was my idea, and the other guys in the band said, "Well, let's make it a turbo polka party, because it's not only polka on that record. We're not just a polka band." So the other guys said, "Let's make it a turbo polka," which refers to our own style.
Tell me a little bit about the polka influence. So polka really is an influence, right?
Well, actually, in the moment you play that really fast ska stuff, and you have that polka beat from the drums, it morphs in that kind of turbo polka.
Mm-hmm.
So it lies in that high speed ska style, I think. Like, or let's call it a heavy high speed ska. that's I think that's what makes it a turbo polka. Then, like I think it also has some reference to that Finnish metal polka stuff from bands like Kopiklani. I'm pretty sure you know those guys.
Sounds familiar. I'm not super familiar with metal, but I've heard the name before.
Kopiklani is a Finnish folk metal band, actually, and they're singing only in a very rare Finnish dialect, and they're touring all around the world. Like, they're going to Latin America and Australia. It's a really cool band. So this is like some kind of like Finnish metal polka.
Polka music, some of this like Balkan music and Eastern European music, ska. There is like a similarity with all these styles of music in that it has this sort of upbeat element, but
Yeah.
they're also different and unique from each other. So on one hand, you guys are using these different influences, but you're also sort of mixing them all together.
Yeah.
Do you think about the nuances of these different styles as you're putting them together and identify them, or do you kind of just kind of go with whatever you feel, just taking all that and just mixing it in a blender?
Well, I mean, those Russkaja records, they will sound like what I love to listen to in that time period of a few years. So the new record is a little more heavier. It's on the
Mm-hmm.
heavier side, because I rediscovered lots of stuff that I was listening to like 20 years ago or something, and I just wanted to make it a little heavier. And since I'm a songwriter, the, my friends, they just go with me, just follow me, and I do not think very much about mixing all the kind of stuff, because it's very naturally to me. Like you said, that offbeat kind of thing, it's everywhere. It's in the Russian folk music, in the Eastern folk music, and it's also in the reggae. It's just slower, and ska. I also used to play lots of hardcore punk stuff when I was a teenager. So I was always into some kind of fast music. Yeah, I love it when it's fast.
What do you think it is about those upbeats, whether it's polka or Balkan or ska? What do you think the appeal is?
I thought about that a lot, and I think it's just like a universal recipe. Just it just does something with people or people's feelings, and it makes them move. It's just like certain grooves in music make you move a certain way, and that upbeat groove is just the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree.
Sometimes on the road when we're bored, we play classic songs from Bon Jovi to Sting or whatever, and then we just use those chords and the words and the melodies, but we put that upbeat guitar and some polka beat underneath, and suddenly it sounds like Russkaja.
What Bon Jovi song?
We did. It was acoustic, and we did it in a basement a few years ago. Just George and me, I think. We did "Living on a Prayer."
Yeah, I can see that being really good.
When are we going to get a Russkaja Living on a Prayer release?
Well, that was the other idea I had. I wanted to do just a covers album, because people seem to enjoy our covers a lot. We we did lots of them live or on the TV show, but on album in the studio we only have a few of them. We have the one Avicii cover, the "Wake Me Up," that got kind of big, and we did a Daft Punk cover, and also I think there's the Katy Perry cover of "Roar," which is just acoustic.
You also have a Last Christmas on the new record.
Yeah, actually I wanted to do like 2 or 3 cover songs on the record, but like when I'm starting to write a record, I imagine lots of stuff. But when I'm like 2 years in all the work, it just gets a little busy, and I don't have the chance to do all the stuff that I had in my vision. So it's only one cover this time. I also wanted to do a ZZ Top "Sharp Dressed Man."
Nice.
Because it would be a total opposite of the original, actually. So that guitar riff, bum, bum, ba-da, ba, bum, bum. I wanted the horns to play that line, and I myself, I would do just the upbeat guitar. So take it somewhere else was my idea. And I also wanted to do Gangnam Style. So I have a list. I have a list where I put those ideas and how I want to do it. And yeah, maybe I will have the chance to do like a covers album. I think people would enjoy it.
Don't go anywhere. If you want to hear the rest of this conversation, head over to our Patreon. Thank you for listening to In Defense of Ska. Please rate and review this podcast and tell a friend. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at In Defense of Ska. Pick up Aaron's book, In Defense of Ska, at your local bookstore or online. This podcast is edited by Chris Reeves of Ska Punk International. This is your co-host, Adam Davis of Omnigon, leaving you by saying ska now more than ever. Russkaja, right? Russkaja.
Yeah, Russkaja.
Okay.
It looks like
Russkaja.
Russians. Yeah,
Not
Russkaja. Great band. They're not actually from Russia, but they have a Russian singer. So.
And a Russian shtick.
Yes. But no shtick. Great band.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying that they we talked about it a little bit about the Russian stereotypes that they
and they came to the US for the first time ever in 2020 2022.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, yeah, behind the curtain, the extended interview, we talked a little bit about what that tour was like, and the most important part too, like what kind of food they ate when they were in the U.S. for the first time. Yeah, this is the stuff Adam and I are curious about.
This is the stuff that I really care about because, I mean,
Yeah.
when you're out on the road, you got to eat. You're going from place to place. It's hard to know what to eat, but sometimes even just eating something as mundane as Waffle House can be an adventure.
So if you want to know what it was like for Russkaja to come to the U.S. and just start eating random road food, go dig under your couch for $5,
or maybe a little bit more. Hey,
or maybe a little bit more.
We've got different tiers now. We've got different perks. It's a whole new world over there on our Patreon. You might have not been there for a while. You might have looked at it the first time and thought, psh, only 2 tiers. Well, we got you now. We got lots of different stuff to offer. So head over to the Patreon, see what we have to offer, and hear the rest of this conversation.
The rest of the conversation.
And when you sign up in future episodes, you'll just be able to listen to the episode, and then it'll go straight into the bonus content.
Yes. And you get to hear these episodes 4 days early.
4 days early.
So you know what that means? That means you're going to hear, if you sign up for that Patreon, you're going to hear our next episode 4 days early, and it's fucking Vic Ruggiero.
Live in the future with Vic, Aaron, and I. Ska now more than ever.